Simple Cyber Defense weekly updates for October 17th, 2021.
Welcome back to the Simple Cyber Defense. In this episode, we're going to be talking about skimmers, how to spot them, what they are, and everything involving them. So, my name is Carl,
Hi, this is Ahmad.
and we're going to get started with the skimmers. And we're going to start off by talking about what they are. So, basically, skimmers are these little small devices that are put into card readers that as you put your card in to make a payment, it scans your card and copies your credit card number onto it. And usually those are placed before the reader of the actual device in there. So the machine will work perfectly exactly as it's supposed to, and you'll get charged exactly as you're expected. But the problem is the attacker now has your credit card number, and they can use that whenever they feel like it and purchase whatever they want to, because they have all the information from that skim that they need in order to make the purchases. And is there anything else you want to add to that before we
Just
move on?
a quick question. So
Okay.
there has to be physical contact between your card and the skimmer, or can it be wireless?
It has to, in order for the reader to work, it has to have the physical contact, unless you're using like the wireless tap charges with near field communication, which could be used remotely. See, and the near field communication, or NFC for short, is a technology that's recent in recent years that's used to do contactless payments. So what you do, instead of having your card and swiping it or putting the chip into a reader, what you do is you just tap your card onto the reader, and then there's a quick exchange between the reader and the card. Now that gives the attacker like a quick second in order to get that token. And think of the token as kind of like a physical, like a quarter or something, but it's only specifically for you. It identifies your card with that reader so that someone else just can't come behind you and use another card with a different token to make purchases on your card. So, but if the attacker is able to capture that token, they have a split second in order to use that token. It's only validated within a small time frame. So each time you tap, it creates a different token. So that kind of prevents the attacker from copying your token and then using that same token like 2 months down the road. But it is possible if they are quick enough to capture the token and use it right away. It's extremely hard and not very common, but it is possible. So it is another thing you have to be mindful of, is if someone is close enough, they could capture that quick interaction between you and the terminal and make a quick purchase without you even noticing it. And with that near field communication, they could also have a little device in their pants or wherever, and they could bump into you and also steal your credit card number using the same kind of method. But instead of making a purchase, they just steal your credit card number. So it's always a good idea, if you have any wallets, to have a RFID blocking capabilities with that prevent them from using these devices and just bumping into you and stealing your credit card through the near field communication. So I don't know if that answers your question or
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. It's very sophisticated, but these devices are very cheap and easy to buy on like eBay and elsewhere. Because unfortunately, it's not illegal to have the skimmers or even sell them. It's only illegal for you to use them, which kind of doesn't make sense because if someone has it, most likely they're having it in order to use it.
So are there any other are there any legal uses for skimmers?
Um, well, basically, the skimmer is just basically the same thing that the credit card reader on a business uses for. So obviously there are legal uses for it, but because most likely these people are buying these skimming devices for illegal purposes, I would say the only legal way to use it is if you own a business and are using it to charge people money for goods that they buy.
Okay. So so but then would it still be called a skimmer
It
or are
wouldn't
these
be called a skimmer. A skimmer
okay.
was usually given a name given to these like these little devices that the attackers illegally use it for. So
Okay.
all it is just a credit card reader,
Okay.
basically.
Okay.
But they called it a skimmer because most likely 9 times out of 10 they put the reader in front of the legitimate reader and
Right.
skim your card for illegal purposes because your
Okay.
card gets swiped twice or scanned twice. And,
Okay.
yeah.
So now you had mentioned two things. You mentioned NFC and RFID.
Mhm.
What is the difference between these two things?
Okay, so an RFID chip is a chip that sends out a radio signal for a scanner to pick up and it receives certain information. Near field communication is just basically the method of the RFID chip transmitting data to the receiver. And there has to be a close proximity between the two so that it is harder for an attacker to come up to it and steal that information as it's being transmitted over the air. Because kind of like with Wi-Fi, which has a long radius of transmission, it's easier for an attacker to just pick up the Wi-Fi signals over the air because there's like this huge amount of distance between the transmitter and the receiver. But with near
Right.
field communication, it's almost like you have to be right close to almost touching each other in order to get that transmission to send signals back and forth.
Okay. Okay. So RFID. That's like the chip that is in your cat or your dog, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
same concept,
Same
but they
concept.
put this chip inside your credit card.
Okay. Now, as just some may know, the RFID can either be powered, right? If it has a
Mm-hmm.
small battery to it, like that connects power
Yeah,
power to it, but most of them don't have it because they're too small.
yeah.
Okay.
And so it gets powered from the receiver. So
From
the
the receiver.
receiver will send a little bit of electricity to the card, which powers the chip, and then the chip then sends the signal to the receiver.
Okay. Now, for RFID encryption in that connection is optional, but for
Mm-hmm.
NFC, it's always encrypted, right? Because it's
Correct.
for financial.
Yeah.
And now you had mentioned that the someone will have that split second to get that information that's
Mm-hmm.
transmitted between the card and the receiver at that time. when does that information get encrypted? Is it after the receiver and when it goes to the
It's
server?
after the token has been created. So once the token's created, then the encryption happens. So then
Okay.
all the data is encrypted and then sent out to the payment server and then processed over there.
Okay. And this kind of explains why, you'll see like Apple and Google and other companies trying to get you to use their products as far as like Apple Pay or Samsung Pay or Google Pay, because they work now as a third party, which is a tokenization server, right? And they get some of those, cut of that sale, right? Like a processing fee or whatever. So once the the seller or the merchant who works with a specific payment processing company, if you're just using a regular card, that information automatically from your card goes, your credit card number, your expiration date, your name, your zip code, and the number portion of your address goes to the payment processing company. They process your card, right? And it comes back, and that's when they do a patch at the end of the day. Then you get paid. But when you're using something NFC, like whether on your phone, using Apple Pay or using the
Samsung Pay, Google Pay,
right, or using your card, there's a third party, which is that tokenization server, which completely changes your credit card. All the information is being transmitted to the payment processor, right? So that adds another layer of security, right? Because what I'm trying to understand here is, what is more secure, if I physically insert a card to process my payment, or if I use NFC? In both, which one is easily skimmable, and which one is more secure as far as the data in transit?
The easiest for them to steal your information would be through either the scanning or putting in your car. It's a little bit more difficult to do the near-field implementation. Like I said, they have that split second in order to not only copy the token, but then use it at the same time. And plus, they would have to have the exact same, they have to spoof not only your device, but also the reader too. Because the reader has to have the same signature as what you're using. So you can't use a secondary reader with the same token, because then it'll be invalidated. And using your phone, everything is encrypted. The entire process is encrypted. So it adds an additional layer on top of it. So in order for that attacker to be able to use that information, they would have to inject your phone with malware, which is a different level of attack, which is, again, a little bit more difficult than just bumping into someone and using the NFC to steal your credit card number. So each of them have their pluses and minuses, but the most secure, I would say, is your phone, because the tap in there isn't going to work, because a lot of these phones, especially with Apple, you have to do an additional things in order to transmit, like either put your fingerprint reader on or look at the phone, say, okay, not only do you have your phone, but you also have your biometrics to confirm that this is you. Whereas just a card, well, a card's dumb. It doesn't really know whether you're tapping a cash register or someone has a reader in their pocket and bumps into it. So I'd say the most secure method is your phone for right now, until they come up with another technology which is more secure. But until then, I would say your phone is the most secure method of payment in this way.
Which is counterintuitive, because you ask, people out there, hey, use your phone. No, is this secure? Is this safe? Well, yes, it is.
It is secure, but it is not always the most private way, because now not only does the credit card information, the credit card company knows what you're purchasing, but also the cell phone knows all the purchases that you're making, which could be Apple also has a copy of that, Google has a copy of that, and who knows also has that copy. But again, it is the most secure, but again, not the most private. So if you're looking for privacy,
Use
use
cash.
cash. Don't use a card at all or a phone at all. Just use cash. But if you're looking for the most secure, use your phone if you can. So I know not everyone has a phone that can be used with this tap thing. Because my phone doesn't have a near field communication chip in it. So I can't use these mobile payments to do the tapping on that. It just won't work if I don't have that near field communication at all.
Okay.
But pluses and minuses, everything, I guess.
Okay. So now, since most people still use the actual, swipe method of your paying when they're using their credit card, how can someone protect themselves from, card skimmers? How would I know if someone is using a skimmer?
Unfortunately, if they're really good at what they're doing, it's not possible to know just by looking at it. The only way that you'll know you're a victim is after you skim it and they use your card. So I know there was one time that I had to get cash really fast. And I had to go to an ATM and I put my card in, got the cash, everything was fine. But then later that day, I got a call from my bank saying, "Hey, did you made a purchase from this website here?" And it's like, "No, I didn't at all." Well, it turns out that attacker had a skimmer on the ATM, and as I put my card in, he stole the card information and then used it to make a purchase online. So luckily my bank caught it and was like, "Hey, this isn't right," because it was a very large purchase, and they were able to block it before they were able to get the money processed through. So that was a good thing, but it could have been very bad if I didn't get that alert from my bank.
Okay. One of the from what I know, one of the most popular places to use skimmers is on uh, gas pumps. And
Yeah.
I know here in California and in some other states it's different, but you have to prepay, where you insert your card in the machine before you start to pump your gas. And that's where the put the skimmers is, right on the card readers. One of the things that I made a habit of is when I pull up to a pump, I try to look at all the pumps and see if the one I'm using looks a little bit different.
Yeah.
If the card reader is sticking out a little bit further, even by a half an inch, because that's how it works. Another thing is, if the you'll see some of the credit card machines, they have a flat surface or an irregular surface so that it's hard to install a skimmer on it. If it sticks out, try to wiggle it, see if you can take it off. And if you can't, if you can't remove it and it's not easily removable, then you're probably safe. But if it moves,
well,
or
here's the thing about the gas pump thing. Those keys that they use in those things are uniform. Every gas pump uses the same key, and those keys are available online to be purchased. So a lot of these people, what they would do is they would buy one of these keys, open up the pump, put the skimmer inside, so that everything looks exactly legitimate, and then close it back up and lock it. For these pumps, what you would need to do is look to see if there's like a sticker, because some of these major pump companies will put a sticker on there, and if it's broken or looks like it's a little worn down, don't use it. Also, try to get pumps that are closest to the clerk, because they don't want to be noticed, because it's very easy to be spotted if someone's opening up the pump and they're like, "Hey, wait a minute, I'm only supposed to be able to do that," and then they'll get caught. So what they'll do is they'll go to the pump that's way out there that the clerk isn't really paying attention to, because it's real easy just to look over. Okay, the pump closest to me is fine, but that one in the corner over there will require him to actually look there, but he's busy inside doing the other things. So try to go to the pump closest to the clerk, and if you can, try to pay inside, because it's a little bit more difficult to get the clerk to be in on it too. So I know the convenience is to pay at the pump, but
Yeah.
sometimes you give up a little security for a little bit of convenience. So those are my suggestions to you. Also, another thing you could do is just try to see if you can wiggle the door, because sometimes these people are in such a rush that they forget to lock it back up. So if you can just push it open, most likely it's been tampered with. Like I said, look for stickers on there, see if you can just open the door just by tapping it real quickly, and if you can, just pay inside, because that's going to be your best bet.
See, I always thought those stickers, and thank you for teaching me this. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought those stickers were more to kind of keep the gas station honest on the weights and measures. You know, like, hey, are you really getting a gallon when you're pumping a gallon? I didn't know it was about the.
Well, usually those
payment.
stickers are on the side where the door will open up. But if you get the stickers for the weight and stuff, usually those are on the face of the
Okay.
door. But
Okay.
usually where the crack is, where you can open it up and close, usually there's like a sticker there to say, okay, this hasn't been tampered with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Good to know.
Yeah.
All right.
And again, another target besides the gas pumps are also ATMs. And luckily, the ATMs don't have a universal key that they can do.
Yeah.
But what
Imagine.
they can do, yeah. Imagine that. But
Very rich.
what they do is they do look at the reader, and they will copy that reader exactly. So you won't notice by just visually looking at it. And they'll put that reader above the bank's reader. So what I usually do when I go to an ATM is, first, if it's not a bank ATM, I usually don't use them, because you always see them in like a gas station or some weird alley somewhere where there's an ATM just sitting there. Because unfortunately, people can buy ATMs out there, and they can put them wherever they want. And so if you do go up to a bank one, a legitimate one, what I usually do is go up to the card reader and just turn the little reader around, see if you can remove the reader. Because a lot of these attackers, they just put it on there real quick. So they only have they don't have a lot of time to sit there to secure it all. So what they'll do is they'll take their cloned reader and just pop it on top of the bank's reader and walk away. And then come back a little bit later and then just pop it off and walk away with it. So you can just go in there and just put your hand on the reader, and if you can just pull it right off, it's a skimmer. If you can't, it's the bank's actual reader. So just a couple seconds of jiggling on that thing to see if you can take it off will be the difference between having your card skimmed and not skimmed. And just don't use dodgy ATMs.
Can a card skimmer also read your PIN number?
No, but what they could do is put a tiny camera just above the keypad and record what you're typing in.
Okay.
So again, usually what I do is I'll get my hand and put it just above the keys so that only I can know what I'm typing in. Because these days cameras are so small that you can just put them anywhere and be able to record anything. So it's kind of scary out there.
Right.
Right. Any other questions?
I don't have any. I don't think we got anything else to add to this.
No, I
mean,
think
it's,
that should wrap it up. Just be very cautious when you're using your card out there. Um, the best practices is just be aware of your surroundings. So
right.
a lot of these card readers are easy to spot just by doing a few seconds of just manually shaking things around or comparing different readers. Usually, the higher the traffic is, the less likely the readers are, because it's easier to be spot if a lot of people are walking around an area to see someone just putting something on there, opening something up. So, like I said, just be aware of what you're doing and keep an eye on your credit card statements and bank statements, because this holiday season we're going to be using our cards a lot. I think because of the pandemic, we're going to do less physical shopping and more online shopping, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be safe, because you could be going to a gas station and you can get your card skimmed, or going to an ATM because you need money quickly and get your card skimmed. So just be a little bit more diligent, take a little bit more time to inspect the reader just to make sure that nothing doesn't look kind of out of place. And if it does, just don't use it. And wherever you can, use cash, because you can't skim cash.
Right.
So with that in mind, let's conclude this episode, and we'll hopefully have educated you in the world of skimming, and just hope that you shop safe, and we'll see you in the next episode. If you like what was in this episode, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing with others. For more information, to suggest a topic, or to donate, head over to simplecyberdefense.com.